There we go. Take it away, Chitra.
Good morning, Desiree, and good day, everyone, wherever you may be joining us from. Thank you for your time today. This is the September edition of NAWRB's Leadership Principles. This month's topic being Lead by Example, and I'm delighted to be your host and facilitator of this discussion. And thank you to my colleagues who sit on the Diversity and Inclusion Leadership Council with me. I welcome Teresa, Kelly, and Desiree, who is the chief of this organization. So thank you all for being there. As you may recall, we started doing these webinars in a slightly different way. We have been trying out since last time. What we thought we would do is we would expand our discussion to the world's leaders and bring in diverse opinions and diverse thoughts and perspectives from incredible people whom we respect and hear from. So what we are going to do is my amazing colleagues here who are with me today, they have selected a number of segments, some of them videos, some of them podcasts, and that have touched them in a very specific way. So we are going to play them, and so all of us can together experience what fascinated what intrigued my colleague's selection. And I will invite the person who proposed to elaborate on that. What is in that segment that spoke to them, and all of us will, after listening to the segment, we all will have our perspective to share. So it's going to be fun. So it's not going to be our voices all the time. So we are going to hear diverse, opinions, diverse perspectives, which is what fascinating. I had the fortune of peeking a look at it already. So we are going to, today's topic is lead by examples. I mean, there is no dearth of material on this. And often we live by this principle in our daily activities. So I'm going to start with Teresa. She has an amazing selection in terms of if you want to change a behavior. There is an amazing story that she has selected. Desiree, could you please play that one from Teresa's? It says, great story by Mahatma Gandhi.
It's the first one here, right?
No. Further down. Go to Teresa's name in our curation, in our playlist. Further down.
Okay.
All the way. Then right here, if you want to change the world, number one in your column. Do you see that?
Do I change the world? Okay, sorry. I have, if you want to change the behavior.
Yeah, that particular clip.
Okay, got it.
And thank you, Chitra, for beginning with that one, which I think is the perfect one to start off with.
Story about
always a story, nothing like.
A woman and her young son went to go visit him.
We can't see it, Desiree. It's not visual. No. We only can see, the only thing we can see is your
Please tell him to stop.
Okay, hold on. It says
He looks at the woman, he looks at the young.
You have to flip the screen.
This is a great.
you can't see it at all. It says it's screen. It's
screening your presentation template, but not you. The only thing is visual is the Word document you have.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so
get that off the screen. And again, while Desiree's doing that, the reason that I fell in love with this particular video is going to be very eye-opening by the end, because even the individual that is asking leadership from Mahatma Gandhi is actually confused herself until you hear the end of the story. So that's a great teaser, right? So that you can watch it. Yes, we can see now. You just need to increase the
okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
What number do you want to start at the very beginning?
Yes.
Yeah, start and then audio is muted. Can you play the audio? Click on that sound signal.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't hear the audio now.
And this woman.
Now we can. We're good.
Sugar.
Start from the beginning. One more time, Desiree.
Would get this boy to stop eating sugar. Doctors told him to stop. Friends told him to stop. Family members told him to stop. Nothing worked. So she figured, I'll go visit Gandhi and him being the wise and pious man that he is, my son will surely listen to him. So she waited for a long time to go visit Gandhi. And when she finally gets the chance to meet him, she says, Gandhi, please help me. My son is addicted to sugar. He's not listening to anybody, but he'll surely listen to you. And Gandhi looks at the woman, he looks at the boy, and he says, very well, come back in 2 weeks and we'll see what we can do. The woman was a little confused because she thought, why do I need to come back in 2 weeks? But nonetheless, she did. 2 weeks later, she returns back with her young son and she says, Gandhi, remember me? My son is addicted to sugar. Please tell him to stop. And Gandhi looks at the woman, he looks at the young boy again, and he says, son, you should stop eating sugar. And the woman was very confused. She looked at Gandhi and she said, we were here 2 weeks ago. Why couldn't you just have told him that then? And Gandhi says, well, because 2 weeks ago, I myself was addicted to sugar. And how can I tell somebody else to stop doing something when I am doing that same thing? And I think this is a great story about this concept of leading by example. Oftentimes inside of our organizations, we have managers and executives that have certain expectations of other employees inside the organization. And they want those other employees to exhibit certain behaviors, but rarely do those managers and executives themselves exhibit the behaviors that they would like others to demonstrate. And so I think that this is a great story and something that managers and executives should really take to heart, because if you want other people inside of your organization to act and behave in a certain way, start with yourself and see what happens.
So, Teresa, what a great selection. So let me tell you something about that story. It's a story that all of us who grew up in India are very familiar with. It's actually attributed to another big leader of thought, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So it's a very compelling story on the behavioral change one has to make sure that it happens within ourselves before we are ready to chart the course for others. So Teresa, what pulled you into this story?
Well, very eye-opening, right? And I totally agree with you in the fact that, when I was, that is something I found several years ago. And I felt that it was so true to the concept of leadership, right? Is that can you lead some individuals and expect them to do things if you yourself don't do them? And a lot of times, I have had leadership in the past where I feel like, wait, you're not doing that, but yet you're expecting us to do that. I'm very fortunate today because Gino Bafari, who's our CEO, actually everything he says and asks us to do, he actually does or has done in the past. He's very deliberate on making sure he leads by example. And so it really spoke to me. Mahatma Gandhi is such an incredible force. And the fact that this mother was asked to come back 2 weeks later was really perplexing for everyone. Why wait when I come back? And because he could not tell this child to stop doing something he himself could not do. And so that was just a beautiful way of showing true leadership and really leading by example. So that's what I love about the video.
Yeah, the authenticity of that advice goes so much farther when the person is practicing that advice. Kelly, any thoughts? What did you like about this or not?
I think that is it's a great video, and I think it's a very simple message, but it's very difficult to do. I think there are many leaders out there who are, they give a certain message, and then you're right, Teresa, they go right back and they do the complete opposite, or they certainly don't understand what the people are going through to try to accomplish what they're asking. So I think when you go through it, as Gandhi was saying, he had to go through getting rid of his addiction to sugar. That means a lot to everybody listening to you. So I thought it was very good. Very
nice story. Desiree, yeah.
So I got from it was the internal turmoil of himself, of the pause, like you said, the simplicity of saying, how come you didn't, from the mom saying, how come you didn't tell me before? The internalization of the things that are so simple in life, the addiction of sugar, right? I'm allergic to it, but then I get in my moments where I want to just eat sugar, and you're like, okay, calm down. You got to pick your poison, and what are you gonna do with it? And I believe that it internalized with him on how bad it is. Here's someone asking him to do something, and with him going through the process, I think it was more than, and we all see that, but the idea is that it shows the authenticity of who he is as a world leader, as Teresa's pointing out, and everyone worshipped him, what he does and continues to do. But it showed that he also is human. He's not above everything else to go with it. And that's what I think is so powerful, because we, Chitra, you always talk about that we put things on such a higher level, and how do we relate to certain things, that I think that was the message that I got from it. And it sent chills down my body, because like, okay, you've got to stop eating the sugar, because it's not helping you.
Well, and such a simple message, right? It really was, to me, even it's just so it's just more global, more strategic, the thought of any kind of leadership, anywhere in this country or the world. If you cannot lead by example, if you're doing things that aren't, if you're saying, hey, let's reduce our carbon, but yet you're flying jets that, that's just one example, right? That that are flying private where everyone else is not, and they're having to wear masks. I mean, I'm not trying to get political. I'm just trying to say, lead by example. That is where I think we need to really start to focus. If walking the talk, we need to walk the talk.
Yes. And
Teresa, you mentioned something.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned something, Teresa, and I think the word for it is there's a lot of hypocrisy right now, right?
Yes.
In the world. There's a lot of people saying a lot of things, but when it comes to themselves, they don't follow the rules, the same rules. So I think when you see something like this, it's again, a simple message, but it strikes you as to that's authenticity, and that's what we've all been talking about.
Absolutely. Kelly, you brought up the point, right, about how hard it is to practice what you preach, walk the talk. So my selection actually went to the heart of it. So where do you start? So before imparting advice to someone else to lead a better life, be a better citizen, be a better person, it has to start from within. So my selection, we are going to play, actually gives very useful tips, and we are going to do it in 3 parts, interspersed with Kelly's selection and Desiree's selection. So Desiree, would you mind playing the clip that I have chosen with the item number 1? So great leadership starts with self-leadership. So how to become an example. And this segment is going to show 3 principles of how to make this happen effectively.
Yeah, I'm trying to. This is the first one. This is the first one in your list, right?
Yes. And you can go directly to 7 minutes.
Okay, I see. I'm trying to get it to it. For some reason, it just does not want to start. Hang on, sorry. We're streaming so much on the system. Oh, okay, that's why, because it's like, okay, you're already doing it. Hang on, give me a second. If you want to do an intro real quick.
Yeah, sure. So this is a TED Talk.
Executive one. Here we go.
But we cannot see it.
No, I know.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Today I want to share with you my leadership utopia. And when I was
7 minutes, 7th minute.
He was asking, leadership?
So Lars Sudman is a leadership advisor, and he's an award-winning lecturer. And I chose this where he turns this this enormous task of changing oneself, leading by example,
Go ahead.
Into small, practical changes, practical techniques by which we can achieve the change within ourselves. So it starts with first self-awareness. 7 minutes, 7?
Yeah, I'm here. I started and then you started talking. So I apologize, everyone. I am not, this is not my forte. Here we go.
They said, well, let's look at this behavioral model.
No, this is the wrong video. It's not Lars Sudman. You went into a different clip.
Okay, hold on.
exec. This is where their books, their autobiographies were written and read like leadership manuals. The whole thinking was, if you need to be brilliant, you need to be like me. You need to walk like me. You need to talk.
So we're playing videos, we're teaching. Is this the one here? All right, so we're doing well here. So go ahead and keep on talking, Chitra, until I can start it out. Sorry about that, everyone.
All right, yeah. So this is not, obviously you can say it's a real-time production. It's not a
Absolutely. It's
produced,
real true video, like it happens on, you know.
Right,
in a
right.
room- in a room in front of an audience, right? Let's get that
Perfect.
video.
Right, that's it. We got it down. Okay, so we're gonna go back to it's the very one that's kicked off at the very first. It starts at 7. I clicked on that. I have no idea why my handy dandy computer is not doing it. I know we all can say it's operator error that's supposed to go on it, right? And go with it. So but we're trying here, but for some reason my computer does not want to click on it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy and paste, we're gonna put in a new group, we're gonna start a new we're going to do a new thing. Here we play, and we're going to share it. And then we're going to share the screen. And we're going to stop. We're going to stop, and we're going to take it to line 7. So bear with me as we walk through the system here. We're going to stop. And now we're going to go back to us, and we're going to see how we got. This is how we're giving you instructions on how share screens as we go through it. Here we are. We're going to share a screen here.
Well, I love that leading by example, because we all fail and that's how we fail forward, right? And learning how to do something. So I love it. There you go. We got it.
Leading.
Now you got to start it. Desiree, hit start.
I did, but what happened is that it's reset
oneself
itself. There we go.
first before going out and leading others.
Can you just rewind a bit back again?
To actually face some of the challenges of was focusing a lot of his time on.
That's 7 minutes. Okay.
Self leadership, leading oneself first before going out and leading others. And I think that in my leadership challenges helped me enormously to actually face some of the challenges of the leadership formula that I've shared with you. The founder of Visa, D. Hawk, once said, if you want to lead, invest at least 40% of your time in leading yourself first before you go out. Now, how do you do that? And what I want to share with you are a couple of strategies that I've tested, that I've worked with, and so on, to really try to see what can we do with that field of self-leadership. The first strategy and the first field of self-leadership that is out there is self-awareness. When you become a leader, it's actually some of the crucial things to be self-aware of yourself, but it's getting more and more difficult. Any of you have ever been in a leadership position, if you've ever tried to ask for feedback, that's not so easy. Huh? You ask like, hey team, hey group, do you have some feedback? Very often what you encounter is the silence. Like in these ancient Western movies with these dust balls, come on, some feedback. Oh, brilliant, but everything's fine. And you know, no, that's not right. But I mean, you're signing the paycheck, basically. And they're like, no, right, brilliant. Now, there are some ways, of course, to learn to ask also for better feedback. But one of the things I think every leader can do is to check that for themselves. And one of the tools that I have is what I would call the character traits check. A character traits check. You can do that on a rainy Sunday. And do the following. Ask yourself, for example, what was the worst leader that you ever had? And then think what your face does then with this. This is me reflecting upon this. And then go further and ask, like, what did he or she do actually to be such a worst leader? Did he yell, or did she yell? Or did he maybe withhold information? When I was doing this exercise, it was like, well, that bad leader withholding information. And here comes now the trick in this tool. Give yourself a score from 1 to 5 for yourself. How good are you, for example, at sharing or withholding information? How bad are you at this one? And for me, that was like, oh, I'm actually not very good at this. So what is my plan to move that up, to become very good at this one? Because what we find bad in others will very often resonate also with ourselves. One of the key
You can
things.
pause, Desiree.
But if you do that, you will see also the vapor trail of.
Yeah. So thank you. So as you can see, when I thought about leading by example or being a model of behaviors that we want others to exhibit, the first and foremost, what's the ingredient that is needed to put that into real practice is awareness. And that's why, Teresa, when you talked about how people are completely unaware of what they are doing, jet setting, and then at the same time talking about climate change and being champions of climate change, it struck me that it's so crucial to be self-aware. And I love the way he breaks it down into us, very into a practice that we can all adopt, right? That what is it we didn't like in others, and are we doing that? How much of that we are doing? And so self-awareness is the first and foremost technique to make change happen. And Gandhi is all about changes, making change happen. So
I love that I was smiling so much on this because I've always had a policy that don't bring me partial information for me to make a decision. Bring me the whole thing before I can make a decision, because the time it takes to make the quality decision is to have all the components. So wasted time for the employees is that, well, what do you want to do about this? What do you want to do about what do you want to do about this? And it's like, until you bring me everything all at once, you can't make that decision. I can make a decision in 5 seconds if you bring me all the pieces. But if you only give me one piece, it'll never get done. It'll sit in the collective file to never get executed. So I think that really spoke to me. And I just love that clip because it really shows that the efficiency of starting and stopping and getting into a system, that if they want to have something, the better they can make us make a better decision is by being more informed. So I love the idea. How well do you share your information? Not only go to them, to me, but from me to them.
mm-hmm.
I like the self-awareness. I mean, you really do have to, sometimes we all live in our own little bubble. It doesn't matter what, who you are, we're in a bubble, and being self-aware that we are in a bubble, that we are also need to understand what we speak about or what we want others to follow, we need to first do upon ourselves, right? And if we don't do that, then we really cannot be effective leaders. And what happens, it shuts down other people because they believe that you really aren't genuine and authentic. And that is the number one thing that I think a great leader, and those, the fact that he looked and considered who were the leaders that weren't, who were my least favorite and why, and then took that look upon himself to say, okay, why did I not like that? Am I doing that? And realizing, oh, I probably am doing the same thing. That's self-awareness, and that's genuine and authentic in understanding how you can become better. And we all can become better no matter what. So I thought that was really kind of eye-opening.
Right. So holding the mirror. We're going to pull Kelly in because we can't see her. Maybe she's like, hey. So Kelly.
Thank you, Chitra. Thank you. I do apologize for not being visual as well. But, when I think of self-awareness, the problem, if you're not self-aware, it becomes impossible to lead, because what happens is, to Teresa and Desiree's point, you can't really be honest. And if you're doing things that go against what you truly believe, there's a lot of tension that starts to build inside of you as the leader. And then you start to have struggles. You start to have stress and anxiety at a level that, it's just not healthy. So the self-awareness piece is huge because, there's so many ethical decisions you make in business every single day. And if you don't have the awareness of yourself, if you don't have the fortitude to really stand up for what you believe in, you will find yourself going down a rabbit hole of, deceit and dishonesty. And then pretty soon you're not able to lead anyone. So I think self-awareness is a huge point for all leaders. And make sure, you're leading on the things that you truly believe in, and that you're leading with people, right, who you can be honest with. That's really critical.
Absolutely. Well said. So
I love this.
there are two other amazingly effective techniques he talks about, Lord Sudman. We'll come to that as we go. So Kelly has actually given us a segment by, Gladwell. So I'm curious for Kelly to set it up. So Desiree.
Yeah. So
Could you please
Wait a minute. Chitra, let me give a little introduction here. So
yes.
I really want to highlight this whole podcast, not just this one segment, okay? Although I think this is a great example, but this podcast is called Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell. And I have found it to be so informative and educational. And the reason why I brought this one to the table is because I think as leaders, so often we talk about continuous learning, and you need to continually learn, and we need to be open and get new ideas. Well, you know what? How many leaders really do that for themselves? How many leaders take the time to learn something new or do something different? And I'll tell you, if you listen to this podcast, I have no doubt, if you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell at all and any of his books, he is a great author. He is a very good speaker on this program, and you will learn something new. So you don't need to play the whole podcast because it's lengthy. They typically last about 30 minutes, but I want to highlight this one. It was an interesting one about accountability with some physicians and how when you made physicians accountable, there was a completely different outcome. And I encourage people to listen to it because I think it will pull them into the podcast overall. So my whole point,
let's have a listen in.
Think about,
Let's have a listen in, and then you can reflect.
Oh, okay.
On it. Yeah, we have time.
Go ahead.
Let's bring his voice in. This is all about bringing that external voices into her. So this is the second link,
Okay.
Desiree, under Kelly's name.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, hold on. Let me go. I got it queued up. Let's see if I can get better at this. I'm trying. There we go. And we're gonna go backwards into pulling it back. Hang on. There we go. And we're gonna start from the beginning, right?
Kelly,
Hit me, I mean,
Yeah, you can go ahead and start it. Right.
Implicitly violent content. Oh, I can't wait for it. See this summer's must-see movie, Medieval, to experience the violent world of a unique warrior, Jan Žižka, played by Ben Foster, who leads his comrades in bloodthirsty battles against the corrupt and treacherous monarchy to become one of the greatest leaders in history. Also starring Sophie Lowe, Till Schweiger, Matthew Good, and Academy Award winner Michael Caine. Opening exclusively in theaters September 9th. Visit medieval.film for tickets.
Binge listen this and all your artist stations, plus any song from our library of millions of songs.
this is
All
an advertisement. Can you fast forward?
Well, of course, you got the advertisement there, but
I clued in on that. So let's go to, let's start. If you say, here we go.
No.
Boy, it's
Advance, you can advance farther. Say something in between, yeah. And then Kelly can bridge us in.
How many forests were sacrificed to feed Sid's fax machine? God only knows. In any case, I moved on. I left the Washington Post and forgot all about Sid and his fixations. And then I heard about an experiment, and it all came flooding back. Revisionist History is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. We all have people.
okay, so just stop it there. Just stop it there.
Outcomes.
Okay.
So what Gladwell does really well is he tells a story. And that's why you can't really jump into this at any specific point. You have to listen to the story. And every episode is a different story. And what you thought happened in history and what you've probably been taught, he shares some information that might make you rethink that. And the ability to learn, just like on this call, how Desiree's learning to do all these clips, the ability to keep learning and to be open to new ideas and to listen to new information, like Teresa said, to make better decisions, is critical as a leader. It's critical. And that's leading by example. Because if your people ask you, well, what do you do to lead, to learn? What do you do for continuous learning? What do you do to keep your mind open? You better have some answer, and you better be looking at outside resources. So I apologize that you got a lot of the ad there, but I encourage you, go to the website, go to the podcast, and listen to any one of the episodes. This is a good one, that's for sure.
Very good, Kelly. So I know we couldn't listen to the entire podcast, and we will be sure to. We are going to share this Desiree, we can include this even playlist in your post. Kelly, what resonated with me is your message that accompanied this selection, right? That it is all about continuous learning. And lead by example is one. After self-awareness comes the change, comes the behavioral, right? Change to make a difference. So I thought Teresa's next selection, where she has pulled in what are the 10 important.
Yeah, and can I just comment on Kelly's, because I think it's, first of all, I love number one, the podcast. And one of the things that I think will, that you're absolutely right, Kelly, because every day we have to continuously learn our own, right? If we're asking others to do the same. And in diversity, equity, inclusion, it's always changing, right? It's always new things to learn, new ideas. And one of the things that I decided to do this past year was go back to college. And let me tell you, it's not been easy. That's another thing that's taken up a lot of time. I'm actually enrolled in Cornell's certification program on diversity, equity, and inclusion, just because I really wanted to be better at my role and my job, and also lead others by example of things that I can really pull from other experts in the industry that are doing this role. And so I am having a heck of a time going back to school. And I finished my first series. There's 4 series that we have to complete in order for us to get the certificate. And I made 100 on my first series. And so, but it was a lot of work and so much more difficult than I ever imagined, just because, again, having to come into a whole new frame of thought and experiences and learning with other people. So again, I honestly think that this was just eye-opening. Learning that just kind of gave me that security and feeling that, yes, you do have to do these things if you want and expect others to learn from you as well.
Oh, thanks, Teresa. And Teresa, you bring up such a great point. Additional education, additional certifications, or maybe just an hour a day that you spend on yourself learning, right? Learning something new and going to a specific podcast, websites, TED Talks, whatever it is, to make sure that you aren't becoming stagnant, right? Or irrelevant in today's marketplace. So I think I think what you said was spot on. I think, again, finding ways to keep yourself motivated and stimulated, it's critical as a leader, critical.
Thank you for that, Kelly and Teresa. I find from it that it's really turned my life full circle, because to your point, going back to school, Teresa, I'm now going outside my comfort zone to learn as much as I can to amplify the sustainability, which has become my lifeline of quality life. You can't talk about quality life, in my opinion, if you're only a singular lane, or even 2 or 3. You have to know so much. We're dealing with climate change, we're dealing with health issues, we're dealing with so many different things. You look at the diversity of this council, it's just not executive women, it's executive women who lead in so many different facets and different ways it's come together. And hence we got Kelly, who, with UPS, she's on the driving mode, ha, ha, ha. So we thought we'd play it out there. But the idea is that for me, it really talked about the fact of I found Clubhouse, I found Twitter Spaces, I found ways to be in these incredible rooms and learn so much from top people so quickly, but then it sort of fizzled a little bit here and there because we went back to actually getting into the workforce and changing. But the idea is finding these podcasts that really can make your thought grow versus then, do I go back to school or do I sit here and listen to these podcasts? I learn as much as I can about how do I take care of my body? How do I take care of my mind? How do I deal with the climate issues? Because you can't solve problems, as Chitra says, that are global unless you understand the depth of what really is going on. And so if you're not connecting all the dots for me, then for that, my mindset is how can I be a visionary time if I don't understand all the different segments, at least at a macro level versus a micro, and have the experts come in and fill in those gaps. So thank you for that. I thought it was a great play, and I will definitely be encouraged to listen to him.
Can I add one more thing too? I really want to encourage people to listen to people with other opinions.
Yes.
Because the easy thing to do, you know, is to listen to podcasts and everything that just reinforces your current opinion and your current mindset. Open up a little bit and listen to those people that maybe you don't agree with, or those podcasts that you don't agree with. I agree with you, Desiree. That's when you really learn. You're listening to other professionals and you're getting their thoughts and their ideas, which may be very different from your own.
Absolutely. Kelly, actually, that is the underpinning and motivation for me to change up the way we have been holding these webinars for more than a year, right? To not be in an echo chamber and of listening to our own stories, but truly bring diverse perspectives that challenge our opinions, make us pause and say, wait a minute, that there is an alternate way of looking at the world, and it is equally as legitimate as the one that I hold sacrosanct. So thank you for bringing up that point. So are we ready to move on, or is there something else?
We're good.
No, that's it. Thank you, Chitra. Thank you.
So now we talked about leading by example, being a model for others, and starting with oneself. But what are some of the most essential skills that are hard to do, but are so important in terms of living as a model? So Teresa, take it away in setting up the 10 skills. Can you go to Teresa?
Sure, and I really like this video while Desiree gets it set
10
up,
skills.
because it
Number
gives
6.
you not just one perspective, it gives you 10 different perspectives.
Number 6, Desiree.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see it? Yeah. 10 different perspectives of leadership that are really critical on how you can actually lead by example. And so, you know, I always like snippets because I'm ADD, so it keeps my attention. And this video for sure keeps my attention because it covers 10 different individuals, 10 different styles of leadership, and 10 ways that we can all learn.
So we love to. So is there any particular one that you would like
Well,
to highlight?
obviously the first one is very critical because it does include the Oracle, right? Warren Buffett, who is our leader within my organization, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services is part of Berkshire Hathaway. And I love this. And this is so very true of him and of many other people. And the message he gives is lead by example.
I'm getting better. Woo! Okay, so
Yeah, but we can't hear him. And
I know we haven't started yet because you're still talking. So where did you
there we
want
go.
to
Yep, go ahead and start at the very
No,
beginning.
right at the very, very beginning. Let's have a listen in.
There
So-
we go, and unmute it. And
Whether you like it or not, get very comfortable. It may take a while with public speaking, for example. I mean, that's an asset that will last you 50 or 60 years, and it's a liability if you don't like doing it or are uncomfortable doing it. That also will last you 50 or 60 years, and it's a necessary skill.
so, you know, again, that skill set is so critical for so many people. And do you want? Yeah. And I really like the fact that one of the things, if you read any of Warren Buffett's books, especially the ones that talk about how he actually became who he is today, the leader that he is, he will be the first to tell you that he was extremely, nervous to get in front of, the audience, even from the very time that he was a child. That was his biggest fear. And so he took a Dale Carnegie course to better improve his skill sets in public speaking, knowing that he really needed to improve in this area because he knew that would be something that would continue on, like he said, between 50 and 60 years. So that was probably the most difficult thing he had to overcome. Gino Blafari, our own CEO, told us that when he started his career, that was he suffered from dyslexia. So having to get in front of people was also extremely difficult for him. And he took the Dale Carnegie course. That's something that he and our fearless leader have in common. And for me, and as well as you know, Desiree, I actually took public speaking in 9th grade, changed my life forever, because that was another fear that I had as well. And to overcome my insecurity and to get more confident, I wanted to be able to lead by example. And as you know, as you see, that was a huge part of all these individuals that speak there.
You're in the
Another listen here, Desiree. I like the Oprah's 130. If you can move to 130, for me, out of all the skills, many of you are familiar with, there is power in, compelling power in the way Oprah talks about reframing. And let's have a listen in, and we'll talk about it.
Everybody else's talent.
Go back a little bit more.
Just a little bit more, yeah.
Talent.
Okay.
All
Here we go.
and everybody has a different talent. And the reason we're all so messed up is because you're looking at everybody else's talent.
Yeah.
And wishing you had some of their talent. All the energy that you spend thinking about, wishing about, being jealous of, envious of anybody else is energy that you're not only putting out, it's going to come back to you negatively, but you're taking that away from you. All your energy should be forced on, what do I have to offer? What do I have to give? How can I be used in service? Because Dr. King's message of not everybody can be famous, but everybody can be great, because greatness is determined by service. And there is not a job in here that you can do that you don't switch the paradigm to service and not make that job more fulfilling. I don't care what the job is. If you say, I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm an artist, I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse, I'm a doctor, I'm a janitor, I'm a clerk, if you say, if I look at this from, how do I use this in service to something bigger than myself? It no longer becomes a job. It becomes an offering to the world.
Yeah, perfect stopping there. So this really was amazing, Teresa. When I looked into your selection, this spoke to actually who we are as a council. Each one of us is not doing a job. Teresa, you're not being a diversity and equity and inclusion leader. You are creating a more equitable, a higher one with parity, increased parity for everyone in your organization. So, as you know, my history, this is not about bringing AI to the population, aging population. It's a service. It's a service of bringing our expertise to change the way caring happens across the globe for the aging population. That's what Amicus Brain does. So this was such a powerful message, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Kelly, Desiree?
Yeah, I was going to say, Chitra, there's a old story, and maybe many people have heard it, about John F. Kennedy walking through NASA, and he ran into a janitor, and this janitor did a great, he just had a smile on his face every day. He was so positive. He loved his job. And John F. Kennedy said, wow, you're so happy being a janitor. What's your secret? He goes, well, my secret is I'm not a janitor. I'm someone helping get a man on the moon. And he had a whole different vision, right, of his job. His job wasn't just being a janitor. He was helping NASA get a man on the moon. And we used to say that at UPS. People would say, well, you just move a bunch of packages around. No, we really enable global commerce, because without us, nothing gets anywhere. So, it is how you look at your job, and that changes your whole attitude. So I think attitude is so important, and positivity is so important. So keeping that in mind with everything you do, I think Oprah said it very, very well. It's important.
Well, I think to amplify what you just said, Kelly, is that you think about UPS. I always thought, as far as, like you said, moving the boxes, but then you really dig deep, is that you're allowing people to live because they need the supplies to continue their job, to eat, health. You're sitting here moving, organs, you're moving things that people don't think about, and all the cranes that need to be to help, with the climate change and things that are happening to save people's lives. Someone's got to get those parts there to work on that equipment. And you don't think of that schedule. You just see what you see every day. And so it gets ingrained into you thinking just the one thing that you see and not the depth of what's being said and done. And I believe that's one of the issues that I love about the She Centerfold. Here, Teresa's in the She Centerfold, and Chitra's on her She Centerfold, and you get to learn the person. I mean, I ask everyone when they get done, how many people learned something about you that they never learned before? Have you ever told anyone that's in everything that's in the She Centerfold that everyone would know about something? There's something of value that's very different. So the ideas dive deep into to get to understand a greater sense of purpose of this person. It's about the she. It's not about your professional accomplishments. And that is the greatest gift to me, because I learned so much to look and reflect inside my world, in addition to helping you. So it's a two-way street as a leader to bring this together. So that's why the power of the she is really about the core, what gets said and done.
And one last
we
thing
had
I'm
another-
going to say, I'm sorry, about Oprah, obviously, because she's from Mississippi and all that, and there's that connection. So I always love anything that she does, and she's amazing. But also the fact that I think we are all CEOs of whatever we do. And if we take that perspective on, whether it was like my dad who cleaned planes for a living, and he would go in and, it doesn't matter if you just show the passion and you're good at that. That's what we have to be proud of, because every job is critical and important in this world. And that's the biggest thing I took away from that piece.
Very powerful piece.
Yeah,
Now, go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I was just going to say, I agree completely, Teresa. And, we could talk on that topic alone for a long, long time. But anyways, go ahead, Chitra.
Yeah. Now, we're all curious to hear have a listen to Desiree's selection. Desiree, play it away.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me get mine set up here. Let me cue it in here. I'm sleeping on the job here. Okay. Now I was just thinking, it put me in deep thought. I'm being very, very real. It just really got me going into the core of what's being said and done here. So it's the powerful stuff and that's what the beauty of this is. You go to a conference, right? Or you go somewhere and you speak and present. What is it it's doing? It's actually putting you in, hang on, I'm getting there. Hold on. I'm trying to stop all these things that we got so many things on my computer's like going nuts here. And so the idea is that, what are we doing here? I'm trying to stop all these screens here. Hold on. Okay. Could we get out of here?
And while you're talking, Desiree, I just have to tell you, I'm so glad that's you, not me.
I mean, this is getting nuts. Yeah, right. Exactly. I am learning, I'm getting better, but it's like, you think someone else used to do this for me. And
I
this
decided to help Desiree grow.
Thank you. Well, you know what? That's the whole thing. We got to improvise, right? Sustainability. This is what we call sustainability to get things going. So why? I don't want this ad here. Please go away. We don't have time.
As Desiree is switching it on, for me, just looking at the selection in your comments, there is a nice thread of, right? Leading by example requires genuine authenticity of being self-aware and questioning, right? Examining oneself, holding a mirror to oneself, then leading on to self-reflection. Okay, what can I change now? I know that I'm lacking in this, or I could do. So next is actually, as we go through, we will wrap it up with this whole notion of self-regulation Lars Edmund talks about.
Yes, I love this lady. Go ahead. Here we go.
Gaps widening when there's so much more investment in leadership development. And what are the great leaders doing distinctly different to thrive and grow? One of the things that I did is I was so consumed by these questions and also frustrated by those stories that I left my job so that I could study this full time. And I took a year to travel to different parts of the world to learn about effective and ineffective leadership practices in companies, countries, and nonprofit organizations. And so I did things like travel to South Africa, where I had an opportunity to understand how Nelson Mandela was ahead of his time in anticipating and navigating his political, social, and economic context. I also met a number of nonprofit leaders who, despite very limited financial resources, were making a huge impact in the world, often bringing together seeming adversaries. And I spent countless hours in presidential libraries trying to understand how the environment had shaped the leaders, the moves that they made, and then the impact of those moves beyond their tenure. And then when
Uh-oh. We stopped. Keep on going. Why did you stop? Ah,
It's okay. So we can record from this. So Desiree, do you want to,
together,
Here we go,
seeing
here we go.
adversaries. And I spent countless hours in presidential libraries trying to understand how the environment had shaped the leaders, the moves that they made, and then the impact of those moves beyond their tenure. And then when
let's go past it. Let me see if it's just that here. There you go.
now from all this, I distilled the characteristics of leaders who are thriving and what they do different. And then I also distilled the preparation practices that enable people to grow to their potential. I want to share some of this with you now. In a 21st century world, which is more global, digitally enabled and transparent, with faster speeds of information flow and innovation, and where nothing big gets done without some kind of a complex matrix, relying on traditional development practices will stunt your growth as a leader. In fact, traditional assessments like narrow 360 surveys or outdated performance criteria will give you false positives, lulling you into thinking that you are more prepared than you really are. Leadership in the 21st century is defined and evidenced by 3 questions. Where are you looking to anticipate the next change to your business model or your life? The answer to this question is on your calendar. Who are you spending time with? On what topics? Where are you traveling? What are you reading? And then how are you distilling this into understanding potential discontinuities? And then making a decision to do something right now so that you're prepared and ready. There's a leadership team that does a practice where they bring together each member collecting, here are trends that impact me, here are trends that impact another team member, and they share these and then make decisions to course correct a strategy or to anticipate a new move. Great leaders are not head down, they see around corners, shaping their future, not just reacting to it. The second question is, what is the diversity measure of your personal and professional stakeholder network? You know, we hear often about good old boy networks, and they're certainly alive and well, many institutions. But to some extent, we all have a network of people that we're comfortable with. So this question is about your capacity to develop relationships with people that are very different than you. And those differences can be biological, physical, functional, political, cultural, socioeconomic. And yet, despite all these differences, they connect with you and they trust you enough to cooperate with you in achieving a shared goal. Great leaders understand that having a more diverse network is a source of pattern identification at greater levels and also of solutions, because you have people that are thinking differently than you are. The third question, are you courageous enough to abandon a practice that has made you successful in the past? There's an expression, go along to get along. But if you follow this advice, chances are as a leader, you're going to keep doing what's familiar and comfortable. Great leaders dare to be different. They don't just talk about risk-taking, they actually do it. And one of the leaders shared with me the fact that the most impactful development comes when you are able to build the emotional stamina to withstand people telling you that your new idea is naive or reckless or just plain stupid. Now, interestingly, the people that will join you are not in your usual suspects in your network. They're often people that think differently and therefore are willing to join you in taking a courageous
Desiree, let's pause here
leap.
because we have 3 minutes left.
Great.
And let's wrap it up. Let's bring it home. So listening to that, for me, I want to tie it back to the story that we started with, right? Are you courageous enough to abandon the past? That's what Gandhi did. Yes, the self-awareness told him he is addicted to sugar. So then he had to make a decision. Am I, courageous enough to abandon the habit before I give advice to this little girl to stop eating sugar? And that was the story. So for me, there's a very lovely connection between what we just heard and to the example of leading by example of changing one's behavior.
I absolutely love the clip in the sense that's just 8 years old. Think about how forward thinking she was back in 2014, here in 2022, all these things that happened. And to wrap it up real quick to give everyone a second to talk, it really amplifies my journey is that, okay, I don't have a 4-year degree. And so to go to school to think about it, well, what's in the textbooks? Are we really doing it? Are we talking about the experiences? You fight back and forth, not to say anything, Teresa, about your learning in the mode. Is that you yearn to learn by reading, hearing, absorbing, and going to the leaders of the best. So I pride myself in going to the best conferences out of my complete comfort zone for the last 15, 20 years, making sure that those experts, I could do a fast track 606 class, right? To make sure they could get to it so I could put things together. So I just love her mission of she tore apart the way we normally look at things and said, to be a real leader, you have to be a risk taker of no end and be responsible for taking that. And the people that come to you are people that you would think are completely out of your comfort zone. I mean, look at how we met, Chitra, boom, 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 boom. These things happen. So it's just phenomenal. So thank you.
I had never been to a think conference, completely STEM, immersed in quantum computing and AI and blockchain. So that was nothing like immersing oneself in that multi-state conference. Yes. So let's have Kelly and Teresa bring it home. We have a couple of minutes. Yeah, Kelly, go for it.
You know what? I just loved in that little short snippet what was said about diversity of thought. Because again, that goes back to being courageous enough to have people around you who don't agree with you, who have different opinions. And I love our council because I think we bring that to the council. I hope we bring it to this Facebook Live event. And again, I want to just encourage people to get out there, talk to people who disagree. And you know what? We have a lot more commonality than we think. That's all I got to say, Chitra. It's been great. Teresa, I give it to you.
Yeah, and I totally, to wrap it up, totally agree with it. First of all, I love the 3 concepts that she talked, the questions that were asked, the fact that she actually went globally to really study leaders and to really talk to them and finding those things that made those leaders successful. And certainly we are going through some really different times right now. And also diversity, such an important part of thought, of process, of people, right, of equity, all of that, and just incorporating the fact that, that we all say, Kelly, every one of us, when you learn about something different, it just enhances your life, because the truth is we are all unique, but we're also very truly connected. And there's always a commonality in everything and everyone. So that's pretty much my whole take on.
I love it. So thank you. So thank you very much, Chitra. You spent so much time putting this together. This is phenomenal. I'm getting better. I'm trying. But anyway, so this has been phenomenal. I learned so much. So next month is be accountable for yourself, for your community, for your planet. And you think about I love the word, Teresa, you said different versus and challenging and, the things that are going on in this world. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, all of you. We'll see you, and please post and we'll get the live recording on this up. And besides being on here to get all the different channels. So we want to hear your story. We want to hear your leadership to go with it, because this is what this is about. So thank you, everyone. Have an incredible day. Smile and say hi to everyone. And thank you for your valuable time. So everyone, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Chitra, for leading us.
You.
Excellent
Thank you, Teresa, Kelly, and Desiree. See you soon. Bye.
Yes.
Bye, guys.